All right, Keith, if you want to come on up and we'll get the report.
Yeah, that's my dad. Yes? What? You have 1 minute. Yes, this morning I bring you the most exciting and on the edge of your seat presentation, and that's about the office and finance. Yes, numbers. Reminds me of a conversation I heard of between a guy who was giving a couple of accountants a hard time, and he said, you know, you guys are so boring. You don't go out, you don't do anything different, you wear the same suit every day, you don't go out on the edge. And one interrupts says, no, that's not true. Just yesterday, Bob and I switched sandwiches. He had a peanut butter and jelly, and I had a bologna on white with cheese and no mayo. So hopefully, it'll be a little bit more interesting. So to bring you that, I'm not going to try to give you, I am going to give you a lot of numbers, but I'm not going to try to make them so that you'll, go to sleep, which you may want to because it was a cold night last night. But how do I get it to go in? Boom, right? I want to tell you a story, okay? I want to present it to you as a story. This is a story, the numbers tell a story. It tells a story about how that we are blessed. And I want you to know that we are. Am I too far away? I hear the feedback. So Pam says, get close to the microphone. Okay, because I have a tendency to speak softly. Okay, first of all, right? No? Oh, I do. And I also have, no, there we go. You are blessed by your office staff. I want you to know that. Yes. Sally, our office manager, Jimmy Crossley, the IT guy, the IT manager, you probably get to know him really well with Sims, and he's always very, very willing to help and answer your questions. Pat just can't leave, can't be. And she is, yes, been so good over the years. Elaine Cooper has come in and helped us from time to time. Ronnie will drive her over and she'll take Ronnie to the train station and he waits for the train and she comes and works. And there's been many, many more of y'all who've come and helped us through the year in the office, and we really appreciate it. There is a lot of work to do. I didn't realize that. It's not just numbers. Sally does so much. Okay, you're blessed financially, okay? We talk about numbers, but let's really stop and think about it. I've kind of split this calendar year 23 and year-to-date 24 because by our tax and by these co-directors in 19 decided to put that we're doing a calendar year. So I know there's a thought that we go from workshop to workshop, but that's not really true. And it's easier to think of it in a calendar year. So that's kind of, when I say calendar year to date, I ran all these numbers at the end of September when I was up here on pad and, enjoyed numbers and spreadsheets. They're so much fun. So anyway, calendar year 2023, our total money in the bank, we have 3 accounts, a capital account where we put money for big projects like I don't know what I've heard it called many things, but I call it the metal tool shed / storm shelter that was built over the old swimming pool, okay? So we know what we're talking about. The money, like when people give money, it goes in there. Then we have a savings account, and we have our operational account. Total, at the end of 2023, it was $360,000. That's good. This year, as of the end of September, it was around $251,000. That's a little drop, but there's a story to be told, and it's a good story too. Let's go forward. Yes. We're blessed by givers. We do not have any problem with givers, but we can always use more. So here you can see the donations. Let me see how it looks to y'all. Good, you can see them. You can look it down 2023, year-to-date 2024. What gives cabin, I broke it down so we can see cabin and RV sites. You can read what the different ones are. The Memorial Fund, there's a lot of people who give to the Memorial Fund, and we remember them through the plaques back there on the back. The estate, there's people who've given for, we've got a big donation in 2023 for an estate. So remember us in your estate planning. The Camp B workshop last year altogether brought in about $24,000 with everything, with all the giving you give for RV sites and a little extra and so on and so forth. I don't know what this year is, because I expect it to be just as well. Florida workshop, the travel fund, the elders of Burleson gave us $8,000. I think that was actually in 22 or 23 for the travel fund. We have travel money for assistance for folks because inflation's here. We all know diesel costs more than it did, 4 or 5 years ago. And so you see the total that our donations in 2023 are $155,000. So far, $98,000. So it looks good. It looks good. Really, we'll talk more about that. Now, you are blessed with the expenses. Now, you say, how can you be blessed? By spending money, right? Okay, but let me tell you. You can look here. The biggest part of our budget goes to Camp B. But I tell you, y'all go to RV parks. We all go around and we see the state of RV parks, the for-profit RV parks. This camp is beautiful. We owe a debt of gratitude to Scott and Joe and Wendy and Harold and Deanna because this camp has never looked better. When I got here on pad in June, Harold was on the lawnmower. And when I came back in September, Harold was on the lawnmower. So I think he sleeps on it. But he's a mowing man, and it looks great. Joe has got this thing humming like a well-oiled machine. It costs money. It costs money to do that. But thank them for that they've done such a great job. And we've had some big expenses, and I'll go about those in the next slide. But education library, Dave has done a great job. He's done these promo kits that are just awesome over the 2 years. It's really done a good job. You can see those going to the promos. Policies and procedures. It's good they don't spend anything. And Paul said, take all the time you want. He's coming after me. So if I don't put you to sleep, he will. Sojourns with Charles. They cover their costs for different things. Workshops. Our workshops really, don't cost us that much, but they do. There is. So our expenses, as you can see, $192,000 versus $151,000. We haven't finished the year yet, but you can see that. Okay, next things. Once again, you say, you're blessed by large expenses, and you go, you're nuts. And I probably am, but number one, the camp insurance. I got a whole slide on that in a minute I want to tell you about. Sims. Sims is up and running. We own it now. Dave has talked about that. So, and we have Jimmy, the IT manager, who is now managing that, so he can make the updates and everything. So it was a big expense, but it's ours and it works. And once you get to use it, I think you'll see that it really does speed up all your reporting and everything. And it gets to the office so that Sally can make all her reports for the elders over there and here, and she can send them to them, because people do look at all those things. They do. They come to us on the pad when we're there in the office, and I read every one of them. I don't know of a co-director who doesn't read every one of them. And I can tell you, people love what we do, and they are very appreciative. Of course, we have big machinery around here. We are not operating like at my house with 1 acre with a Cub Cadet mowing grass. We have to have commercial grade type machinery to run Camp B because it's run every day and it breaks. And I never knew till I got into in this position how much it costs to fix a Kubota tractor hydraulic system. It's crazy, but we're blessed with one, and we're blessed with the funds that we're able to fix it, and people give us discounts and so on and so forth, and we can keep this camp running like this. Another one was in 23. We bought chair dollies, which helps us with all the chairs. I know everybody who sets things up know that. We replaced a large refrigerator in 23. Bought a log splitter, so you can have all the fires in the lodge and the ATV repair. So the next thing is the bottom line. Here's where the story kind of comes together, okay? We have good givers, we have good donations, we have money in the bank, and we have a lot of expenses. You look at we're not a for-profit organization, so we really don't have income statements. We have your activity statement for the year or whatever, but you can see your profits and losses. When you look at a profit and loss for a month or a year or whatever, it kind of doesn't tell you the whole story because you're seeing what comes in as donation and what goes out as expenses, and you see a negative there, and that's true. We have a negative there. However, we have money in the bank, which if you were in the for-profit arena, you would call that retained earnings. But for us, it's our savings, so we can draw from that. And a lot of that money came from like the gas wells, and the gas well we have on site, and giving and so on and so forth. So right now, we have to dip into that, but we were blessed that we have it to dip into. And so you can see that we're running a little behind. But if we go on with the story, I have to get it right. I had it all right. Even though we're running a deficit, we do have the money. Let's see. So the summary comes up. We've already thanked Joe and Wendy and the team for how well it looks. I want you to know that people who are spending the money, whether the co-directors or the camp maintenance, I have found to be very frugal. And what I've done is I've gone through and done some just real exciting things last year, like download all the transactions for a year and just look at them and parse them different ways with spreadsheets and sit there and figure out, well, how much do we spend on camp maintenance and how much you spend on that, so I can see what's done. And I know, and when I ask for explanations, that people are just not spending money willy-nilly because they just want it. They're doing it because there's a need, and they're very conscientious about the money that's given to them, that it's spent correctly. The co-directors all discuss these large expenses to make sure that we're using the money correctly and that it goes to help the cause of sojourners. A large amount of our donations come from the workshops. Keep coming to workshops. Keep adding a little bit more to that camp fund. Remember us in your remember the memorial fund for people who've passed on. Remember us in your estate planning. We have several families who give monthly. You may want to consider giving monthly. Now, one of the other things of the story that we have to be mindful of is the gas wells. Who would ever guessed, even though I grew up in Houston around oil and gas all my life, I never paid attention to it, but who would ever guess that a gas well would peter out? And so over time, they peter out. We started off, you can see here that we've had between, when it began, $1,000 per month off of royalties off the gas well. But now the gas well is not paying that well. We're down to maybe 100 to 200 or so a month for royalties. So a lot of that money was what fed that savings account, which helps us in that buffer when we're not getting, when we're not meeting our expenses with our incomes. So let you know that. What gets us through the year is large donations from people who just have a great heart and want to see Sojourners move forward and have a heart for that. And from individuals, congregations, estates, and it's amazing. I am humbled. I am humbled. You just don't realize, and these people really don't. They don't want to be noticed. They want to they humbly give like Christ said that we should. And I want to thank those people who generously gave us this year when we were in need, because we were hit with some big things with building buildings and tractors that needed to be fixed, and a lot of the maintenance. We put in a new septic system in the lodge. We put in a new air conditioner in the lodge at the end of September. The camp is, I don't know, it was built in the 70s. We got it around 81 or so. The infrastructure is getting old, so it's to be expected that we're going to have those things come up. So I wanted to also say, remember Sojourners in your estate planning, and remember that we have travel assistance if you need it. Okay. Now, Steve Clark probably says, wow, you're blessed with insurance? Well, the people who know. I want to tell you another little story that happened, and we are blessed with having insurance. In May, we got a letter from our insurance company, Church Mutual, that said, as of August the 1st, we will no longer cover you. We will not renew your policy. This is something that's going on with a lot of churches in Texas and the Gulf Coast, and I also understand maybe in California. It's because of the fires, it's because of the hurricanes, it's because of the windstorms and the tornadoes and the hail and so on and so forth. They're losing a lot of money. I call them, I say, why are you, or what's the deal? And they just say, our CEO has said in Texas we are not covering any more insurance. Happened to the Burleson Church of Christ. Happened to a congregation that we went to in Houston. Happened to us. I'll refer you to an article in the Christian Chronicle of January 2024 where they were talking about this, especially along the Gulf Coast, where small congregations that we serve are being hit with twice the amount of coverage, or twice the bill for coverage that they had before, and they're saying, we can't afford it, so they're going without insurance. So it's a big thing in the churches now, and little by little, people, it's catching up on people and getting them. So you can see in 2023, we paid $18,000 a year for insurance through Church Mutual. We had very good insurance. We had the top grade, they call it special coverage. We had the top grade, we had liability insurance, we had everything for $18,000. Then all these storms happened. I asked them, they said, you are considered in a disaster-prone area, believe it or not, in Marshall, Texas. And that's what's happening because they're taking hits, so they're pulling out. So I immediately, Sally and Jimmy told me about it. Immediately I started looking into it. I called the Burleson elders, and they go, yeah, it happened to us. I go, what do you recommend? And they said, well, they recommended a broker. And then through talking to all y'all, there was, that's a Texas term for everybody, all y'all. Just so we have, like sometimes in the Bible you have to look at the Greek. Well, that's, we're looking at the Texas. We recommended a guy at Eastern Hills. So we put these two guys, and I was told by some insurance mentors. Don't put too many people out there looking for insurance for you, because the insurance companies will know that and they'll feed on that one way or another. So these two guys came very well recommended, and they started looking, and I became a pest. I was like their weekly phone call. What's going on? What's going on? We're looking. So in 4 months, we received one bid for insurance. Some of the traditional insurance companies that cover churches like this, Brothers or Brethren Insurance, talk to them directly on the phone. We don't cover Texas. We've started limited liability writing in Texas, but we won't cover you because, we had two claims in the last 5 years. We had the office froze the pipes in there. We had made a claim against that, and when the storm took down the tool shed, we had a claim there. So they look at that and they're going, you make claims, we're not covering you. And you got to understand that they're in the business to make money, and basically it is what it is, and it's happening to everybody. So anyway, we looked. We got one client. We got one bid. I called up the other broker, and it was. We're now past August. We're getting to the end of August, and I said, listen, we have all these people coming in October for the workshop. We at least need liability, and we would like to have as much as we can. So we'd like to have the camp cover for the. So one broker said, I've been working with a company in Philadelphia. They're saying, yeah, we'll do it, but they have not come through, and I don't expect them to. And so we went with the company that we're with now. And to give you an idea, if we had bought the same insurance that we had under Church Mutual for $18,000 a year, we would have paid $75,000 a year per year, every year for it. So after working with the brokers and the co-directors, got together and being with the elders, we came up with a plan. We have liability, we have full liability coverage, and it's a good deal. So we're covering 4 buildings, and this is the idea. We cover the office because that runs Sojourners. If we lost the office and Sojourners, we would lose Sojourners, all the records, all the ability for SIMs, everything. We cover the lodge because the lodge is used by us, and if there was a catastrophic failure, then we would be able to at least have the workshop there. We could come in and squeeze ourselves in there and have devotionals and singing, and then go figure out something but that's catastrophic. Probably wouldn't happen, but who knows? So we cover the lodge, we cover the office, and then we covered the barn and the tool site sets, bar sets, the storm shelter that's over the old swimming pool. And those 4 things, because we would need those 2 buildings with the tools to rebuild everything else. And with the deductibles and everything that goes with these smaller buildings at the age of them, we could ask for donations, and we would just rebuild them ourselves. So those are the 4 things we covered, and that's liability in this for $27,111 a year. If we had covered this building, it would have been another $27,000 for this building alone. So that's the state of the insurance right now, and it is what it is. So like I said, we try to be very frugal, and I think we came to something that we can live with, and we have coverage, and for the main buildings, and that was a big expense this year, and it took a lot of my time, and I say it again, we're blessed to have it, because there was a point that I didn't think we were going to get it. I really didn't. So that's sad, but let's move on to something happy. Looking forward, we're hoping, working with Jimmy, we're hoping that maybe by November, we'll be able to start looking at taking credit card payments. So stay tuned, because I know Sally's telling me that there's quite a few folks that are calling up and saying, I'd make a donation over the phone, or I need to buy a name tag or whatever, and it would be a lot easier for everybody to be able to do that. At this point in time, we're looking at that we would, as an organization, Sojourners would absorb, it's like a 2.5%, 3%, depends on how we end up with the charge per transaction for that. So we would absorb that for now unless it become really burdensome. And, then we would ask the user to do that. That's to be announced, but just heads up on that. And I just wanted to say once again, that's the story. We are blessed. We are blessed that I know it looks sometimes bleak, and if we continue down the road, we could, see the money, if we don't continue to work at it, we could see the money go on down and get in a tougher situation. But we're blessed that we have a reserve, and we're blessed that we had that gas revenues for the time we had them. We're blessed with great givers. We'd ask you to remember giving us on a monthly basis so we can kind of forecast, just kind of like your congregation at home. Think about estates. And there's another thing that came up, and there's an idea about asking congregations to give. So I've researched this and talked to the other co-directors and looked at the policies and procedures. We do not ask any entity that we serve with a sojourner to give us money, period. If we go to a children's home, at work, we go to a small congregation, we don't ask them. We give to them. We give them our time, and a lot of times we give them a donation. Just out of the goodness of our heart, we, all y'all been on, we stick that money in the envelope and give it to them. They really sometimes go, we don't need that. And we're like, it's our donation. So we don't ask them. But it's okay to ask your home congregation if they go, hey, we have some mission money that we want. We're looking for a good place to give for missions. You can say, hey, I've got an idea. Why don't you give to the Sojourners? Those type of things, that's okay. But not to the people we serve. So just remember those things. I want you to know it's a good story. It's not the best story, but it's the story of God taking care of us. It's God coming through the finances. I'm not, when I first get in, you start looking at it and you start looking at all the numbers, and then Pam settles me down and she says, now let's do this together and we'll look. And she has been a great help to me. That's just when you talk about helpmates and why God created woman to help man, and we are together as one unit. I mean, she's done a lot of help and me with a lot of things. She could probably make a better presentation than me here. But I want you to know that looking at it, don't be scared. Be mindful. Be mindful of how you spend money around the camp. Be mindful of cleaning up after yourself. Be mindful of giving. Be mindful of estate planning. Be mindful when you hear an opportunity of a church or organization that we would love to give to a mission-oriented organization. I've got an idea. How about Sojourners? And we're doing fine. But we have to be careful. So God is good. He'll take care of us. I think he's taking care of us. I'm watching, Sally's watching, Jimmy's watching, the co-directors are watching, the elders are watching. And so we will keep an eye on it and let you know if we ever need a little something, just to get us over and say, and like last time, the something we needed was prayer, and God came through. God came through. I'll tell you that right now. And that's it. That's all I have. And you can catch me afterwards and ask me any questions you want. I put together what I call it's not financial statements. I put together my financial analysis of the money, and I can share that with you. Just realize when it drives everybody nuts in the office, QuickBooks will, when you export everything, money when donations are negative and expenses are positive. So I'm working on, putting the little -1 to flip them around. So if I show you this and you go, I don't understand this, that's what it is. It's not, it's my analysis of it. And I feel good. So now it's time for Paul. Paul is going to give us a real exciting presentation of policies and procedures. So you don't have to wake up yet.